Typically, when it comes to FNAF games that I make videos about, I play through as much of them as I can, and when I find a night that I tend to struggle on, I'll pour at least an hour of attempts into it, whereafter, if I continue to fail, I will switch to watching someone else play the game and continue to take notes of the script. This game, however, was not like that, and the game in question is Baby's Nightmare Circus. So buckle up and get ready for me to glaze myself, because this is one of the few times in my life where I'm allowed to be happy with myself. Let's dive together into the world of Baby's Nightmare Circus. Baby's Nightmare Circus opens to a black screen and a cutscene. Someone is talking to us, and we're not yet sure who it is. We know we're trapped somewhere, and this voice says that they can help us get out, but first we have to beat the game. Afterwards, we get thrown into the menu and click play. This is already where I want to stop and make a comment. After pressing play, rather than just throwing you into the night like a normal FNAF game does, this game brings you to a separate screen where you're able to see how many nights the game has in store for you, and as you beat the night, others will unlock, which will allow you to choose a path when it comes to night. It's very loose, but I'll talk more about it as it opens up. The first night of the game is a tutorial night, something I don't really see other games doing. It is impossible to see as there are no enemies that are actually active. In this night, you're free to roam around the circus, and as you enter tents, the game will tell you who will appear in them and how to deal with them. After you've visited every tent, you'll be able to exit the night. But before we do that, I think this would be a perfect time to go over all of the animatronics that this tutorial mentions. It only seems fitting. I'm going to be splitting up the circus into two halves for this section, the front and the back. The front will refer to the direction you face by default as you enter the game, this side, and the back as the side you have to turn to, this side. Let's start with the main attraction, shall we? Nightmare Baby. Nightmare Baby resides in the left tent on the front side of the circus. Tonight, she will attempt to escape the tent and rip you wide open. Now, while that may sound enticing, you need to remember that her name is Circus Baby, and that you're not into minors because you're a normal person. Get it together. There's another character you can goon over in this game that I'll cover in a minute. Keep in your pants. In order to prevent your splitting in half, you'll need to occasionally check on Nightmare Baby's tent and shine a light to see where she's at. She has four possible states. The first state will have you see nothing when you flash your light. The second state will have her duck behind that thing. I think it's a stage. I'm not sure. The third state will have her duck behind a curtain. And you'll notice she's a bit close to you then, and a little bit more than you'd care for. And the fourth and final state is where she's all up in your face, breathing really hard and continuing to catch whiffs of the most rancid breath you've ever smelled. When you see Baby quite literally 3 inches away from your face, all you need to do is quickly run out of the tent. I personally like to run back into the tent and make sure she actually left. I don't know if you need to do this, I just know that one time I didn't, and I died. You might be thinking, wow, that's really easy. What's the catch? Well, you want to know the best part? There isn't one. Yeah, you're soon going to see why I was able to actually complete this FNAF game. Staying on the front side of the circus, we enter the right side tent to find the 3 mini-bats. What do these guys do? Throughout the night, they will assemble like the Avengers, and occasionally cause your flashlight to flicker. How on earth are they doing that to your flashlight, even when you're several hundred yards away from them? How about don't fucking question it, dweeb? How about that, huh? When you notice your lights start to flicker, you will need to quickly make your way over to their tent and flash your light at them until they behave and stop. But what else do they do? Nothing. That's it. You literally never have to check on them unless your light is flickering. This game is butt-fuck easy. If you're bad at these types of games but still want to play one and feel talented, Baby's Nightmare Circus is for you. Once you understand how every character works, which isn't hard, losing will become impossible. Turning around to the back of the circus, starting with the right tent, we have a very interesting character. That character being absolutely fucking nobody, because there's no animatronics in here. Instead, it's just a music box system which powers Ballura's song. She dances to it throughout the night, so we have to make sure we keep it wound up. Speaking of Ballura, heading over to the left tent is where she is. This tall glass of water looking at in a circle on the stage. All you have to do is run. Literally. This is perfect for you freaks. You get paid to goon. And no, I'm not kidding. That's literally all you have to do. You'll see on the bottom of your screen a meter. It will fill up the longer you look at her and will decrease if you're not looking at her. And with Ballora out of the way, that's literally all of the characters and all of the threats in the game. I'm not joking. What? Huh? What's that? Does your flashlight at least have a power system to prevent you from easily cheesing everything ever? Oh, no. No, it doesn't. That would be too difficult. How does this game sound, guys? You might be wondering why I'm even covering it if there isn't a mechanic that's mildly annoying to the point that you say, motherfucker, fuck ass shit, fuck bitch. Well, I promise that there's something interesting about this game. And if you can stick it out with me to the end, you'll see what I'm talking about. As I stated previously, there are multiple different nights, but calling them levels and minigames makes much more sense. The three main levels are called the easy way, the medium way, and the hard way. That last one being a reference to my Nard. All three are pretty boring and are just a slightly more difficult version of the last. You may find yourself getting a little stuck on the medium way, however, and to counter that, let me tell you the God strategy that will make completing these nights 100% possible every single time. Okay, so the night starts. Here's what you're gonna do. Immediately turn around and go check on Ballora until her meter is full. Then go over to the music box and yank on its crank. Next, you'll go back over to Ballora and fill her up again. Pause. And finally, you'll turn around and check Baby's location. If at any point you see the lights flicker, stop what you're doing and flash the Biddy Babs. And check on Baby again before you turn around to go goon to Ballora. Repeat this pattern and congratulations, you've mastered Baby's Nightmare Circus. There's quite literally nothing more you need to do. Something you will notice incredibly quickly while playing this game is that most, if not all, characters are dealt with by looking at them. Which, by the way, is the exact same mechanic as another disgusting FNAF game I'll be covering in the near future. Want to know one more super cool thing about the main gameplay loop here? No? Well, too bad. I'm going to tell you anyway. I personally have never had the Biddy Babs attack more than twice in a night. And usually they only ever attack once, and that was right at the start of the night. I'm not sure if this is a bug or if they seriously were meant to rarely attack, but goddamn, is this game easy. But let's take a short break from the main gameplay loop to talk about the three mini-games in this game. Mini Arena Rules, Bon Bon Rules, and Bonnet Rules. Let's start with Mini Arena Rules, as it will be the first one you're able to access. Mini Arena Rules consists of 3 tents. This minigame is pretty similar to the plush trap minigame from FNAF 4 in a way. Mini Arena can appear at any of the 3 tents, and you will have to perform a different action depending on which one you have. I'm going to give you a small spoiler here and say that every single minigame is exactly the same. The only difference between them is which tents have which actions, and which character is trying to
Get the QuickBooks formula. Simply snap those receipts. Tap and sort transactions automatically.
get to kill you in each game. I don't need to go over each game and waste your time, so I'll quickly go over the 3 actions. For one of the tents, you have to just hold your flashlight on them. The second tent requires you to flash them with your flashlight several times, and the third tent has you scratch your ass and not even bother turning your flashlight on. No, I'm not joking. It's really that easy. How do you know when they're there? Well, you can't just flash your light anytime you want because it will kill the fuck out of you. But lucky for us, the characters will always make a very noticeable sound cue when they've entered a tent. When you hear that, you just turn your light on to see which tent they're at and then respond accordingly. At the beginning of the minigame, the game will tell you which tent corresponds to which action. So whoopity-doo, these minigames are really just time wasters. Let's talk about the next interesting night called Fun Time. Oh boy, I wonder what interesting and unique mechanics will appear on this night. Fucking nothing! It's the same mechanics as the last 3 nights, just with different characters. Instead of Nightmare Baby, you have Nightmare Funtime Freddy. Ballora is replaced with Nightmare Funtime Foxy, and the Biddy Babs are replaced with nothing because it's just the Biddy Babs again. Brother, this guy stinks! Could have at least swapped them out with Electro Babs. That way, them being able to mess with your flashlight would actually make a little bit of sense. But no, whatever, that's fine. How about this? No, it isn't. You can beat this night just as easily as the previous nights using the God strategy I mentioned earlier. Well, it looks like there's one more night. What could it be? Fun times 2. Well, okay, is there anything different about it? Why are you fucking asking a stupid-ass question like that? Have you not been watching the video? No, there's nothing different about it. I was prepared for this night to be significantly harder than the last, but it wasn't, not even a little bit. There are so many conceivable ways to fix this game and make it a little bit more interesting. The first thing I can think of is giving the flashlight power. That would make this game worlds harder. And to be clear, I don't believe difficulty is what makes a game good, but this game is so easy, you seriously don't even have to focus on it. While I was playing this game, every time I was telling random stories or ranting about something random, which you can hear if you watch my playthrough series over on Dexter Black. Go subscribe, by the way. It's miles behind subscribers, and I think that's really sad. If you like this channel, then you'll like that one too. But now I promise something a little different is going to happen in this game. We've unlocked a level called N-Night. If you couldn't figure out what that means, it's just a night with Ennard in it. How does it play? Well, I've got good news and bad news. Good news is it's not the same setup as the previous levels, so you can't just use the God strategy. However, the bad news is this is arguably the easiest level in the entire game. No joke, it's easy as fuck. Let me explain it to you. So, Ennard will appear at random in any of the 4 tents. When he goes to one, he will make a sound to hint at which tent he entered. If he's in Bellora's tent, you'll be able to hear faint music. If he's in the music box tent, you'll be able to hear the crank. If he's in the Biddy Babs tent, your flashlight will start to flicker, and if he's in Baby's tent, you'll hear him grunting, I think? I don't really know what that sound is that he's making in there. Once you know which tent he's in, you'll have to quickly go to said tent and rapidly flash your flashlight at him until he goes away. That's it. Nothing else. No minivabs, no Ballora, no music box, no baby, just Ennard moving around. To give him some credit, he moves around pretty quickly, so you'll be running around a lot, but by no means is this level hard in the slightest. But something else interesting about this night is the reward you get for beating it. Rewards are something I've neglected to mention thus far, and that's because they're not really important at all, until now. To quickly go over everything, beating the easy way gives you a gold coin, beating the medium way gives you a silver coin, not sure why you get a worse coin for beating a more difficult fight, fuck it right. Beating the hard way gives you a golden baby head, don't get any fucked up ideas, you freaks. Fun Times gives you a golden Freddy head, Fun Times Round 2 gives you a fun time portrait of Foxy and Freddy about to make out. Mini Rita Rules gives you a Golden Nightmare Rita. Again, no funny ideas. Bon Bon Rules gives you a Bon Bon doll, which is adorable. Bonnet Rules gives you a golden bonnet head. And as I already mentioned, N-Night gives you a mysterious key. This key will be important, but I'll get more into it later when it becomes more relevant. The final level that unlocks after beating N-Night is Baby Geist Attacks. That sounds really fun and difficult. I can't wait to hear about it. I hear you saying, well, shut the fuck up because it's not hard and I wouldn't exactly call it fun either. Baby Geist Attacks is pretty much just a reskinned N-Night with a few differences. The biggest being that Baby Geist doesn't make noise to tell you which tent she's entered. That sounds scary, but all you need to do is spin around in a circle and check every tent one by one. You probably won't lose if you do this, and if you do lose, it's just sheer luck. The only other change is that the flashlight doesn't beat her. Instead, on this night, you're given a taser to administer a controlled shock. This taser has a cooldown, so don't use it unless you see Baby Geist. When you find her, all you have to do is use the taser, and she'll move to another tent. Do this until 6 a.m. and congrats, you've beaten the game. After completing Baby Geist Attacks, another cutscene plays. The voice from the beginning of the game reveals itself to be a balloon boy-looking son of a bitch named Biddy. He congratulates us on removing Baby Geist from the game, but says that it will always come back. Crazy because I didn't see William Afton anywhere, so you're really just stealing his line, but I suppose I'll let it slide. The prize for beating this level is Baby Geist's endoskeleton, and this is also where you learn that this game has multiple endings, with the game displaying that we've unlocked the Baby Geist ending, getting a star on the title screen. Alright, boys, time to go hunting. The next ending involves that key that we got from Enite. After obtaining it, if you go back to Enite and head over to the music box tent,
It is one of the greatest innovations of the last 50 years.
be able to see a chest with a keyhole in it. You can use the key on the chest to unlock it, which stops the knight and causes a cutscene to play. Biddy tells us we can open the chest, but it's useless and won't help with our sanity. The contents of the chest are just a mutilated Foxy plush that doesn't do anything. I'm sure it has some form of symbolism, but from what I've read, nobody knows what that would be. The final ending I have to talk about is called the Broken Ending, and getting it is a bit more interesting than the other two. Every time you die, there's a chance of you getting an item called What Is This? Trust me, getting this item isn't the easiest, since dying in this game is pretty hard if you couldn't tell. When you interact with this item in the prize corner, it will tell you that you can break the game by finding a red line and holding the keys on your keyboard to the letters in the name, Biddy. By entering any of the normal levels and turning around, you'll be able to see a faint red line in the sky. If you hold down those letters and click the line, the game will freak the fuck out, and an 8-bit minigame will begin. You'll see an 8-bit version of Biddy on your screen, and clicking him will cause him to melt, and several more will appear on screen afterwards. After committing Biddy genocide, the Destroy Him minigame will begin. Biddy will start spinning in a circle, and you'll have to click him multiple times, with him becoming faster and faster the more you click him. After beating him, a distorted version of his face will appear, and the player will notice they're stuck inside their own broken mind. By the way, if you want a quick lore jump, the player in the game got stuck inside of his own game and he's trying to get out. Pretty simple. And with that, that's all Baby's Nightmare Circus has to offer. There's actually one pretty large segment I neglected to mention, that being Classic Mode. After beating Baby Geist attack, you'll be able to unlock Classic Mode. One last chance for the developer to escape the game. Classic Mode looks similar to a normal FNAF game, and the first night would have you think that it is. Night 1 plays normal. With characters coming to your doors, you can check cameras and close the doors whenever they get too close. It's not too hard because it's only Night 1, and upon trying to enter Night 2, Biddy shows himself. He says he doesn't want these last 5 nights to be up to one FNAF game. He says he's going to remove the doors. Fun fact about Night 1, it's actually impossible to lose. Even if you close the doors the entire night, the power drops at a constant rate. Night 1 is completely scripted, so losing can't happen. Just something fun to know. And beating Night 1 will give you some gold coins. Night 2 starts in a backstage-like area where you have to go back and forth staring at different animatronics, with Freddy getting a bit too close at times. After doing this, you'll get jump scared by Biddy, and then Night 2 actually begins. At this point, you'll be placed in a vent with Funtime Foxy as your main threat. You'll have to slowly crawl forward and listen for Foxy crawling around. When you hear him, you need to stop moving. Once his banging stops, you can keep moving. Incredibly easy. But something cool is that halfway through, you'll be able to see Foxy's eye. Just a nice little touch that I thought was pretty sick. After beating Night 2, you'll be given a Funtime Foxy doll, which is just adorable. Night 3 is my favorite of the 5 nights in Classic Mode. You're placed in front of a shelf, and you'll have to make sure that several Biddy Babs don't see you. You'll be able to see their eyes peering at you, and you'll have to move different objects on the shelf in order to block their vision of you until the night ends. It's not hard by any means, but I just thought this night was really fun. Beating Night 3 will give you a Golden Nightmare Biddy Babs statue. Night 4 is unironically the hardest moment in this entire game, but not for the reason you'd think. It starts with you in an office similar to FNAF 6. After turning on the computer, you'll be greeted with 3 buttons: a camera button, a ventilation button, and a let's play button. On the cameras, you'll be able to see Ennard and Baby Geist moving around. The cameras are useless, by the way, and serve no purpose as they're not actually moving around any map. The ventilation is what really matters. Throughout the night, it will decrease, and you'll have to constantly check it and keep winding it up. I don't know why the ventilation is like a music box, but just don't think about it, I guess. The Let's play button is what is actually important. The minigame here is just Pong, but you control both paddles. Every time the ball hits a paddle, you'll get a point. After you reach 40 points, you'll be redirected to a new minigame. And this new minigame is the reason this night is the hardest. This new minigame is similar to a bullet hell, where you have to move your player up and down to avoid obstacles approaching you. It starts off pretty easy, with several auras dancing towards you. After a bit, they start to rotate, definitely a little more challenging, but still nothing hard. Then, out of fucking nowhere, the screen starts to shift up. And this is why this night is so hard. This section is so disorienting because not only does Aurora scroll, your player scrolls as well. And right when it happens, you'll be holding up to avoid a Ballora. But then the screen will start pushing you up as you're holding up, causing you to move right into Ballora's ass, which isn't unappealing, but I'm trying to beat the game right now, not beat my meat. This minigame isn't literally super hard, but it's mildly frustrating enough for me to feel the need to mention it. I did not have a lot of fun with this section, and you can see my salt over on the Dexter Black channel. After the fuckhead Balloras, you'll have a few lull bits to dodge, and after that, you're home free, and you will get an old TV as password. Night 5 begins with Biddy telling you there's actually no way to escape, and that he's been lying to us this whole time. We get so pissed, we actually start punching the fuck out of him, which I think is hilarious and totally deserved. After a large enough beating, he transforms into Nightmare Biddy, and we learn that the final night is a battle against him. Can you guess how you beat him? If you said your flashlight, you'd be unsurprisingly correct. You'll be placed back into the office you saw on night 1, but with no cameras and no doors. To be fair, he did say he was gonna get rid of your doors, so I guess he's not a complete liar. Your goal on this night is to deplete his power using a panel in your office. When you press the deplete button, it will very slowly drain Biddy's power. He'll be attacking you the whole time. You'll be able to hear him making noise in one of your ears, which is a level of ASMR I was never ready for. I see. What the fuck is he saying? When you hear him on a side of your room, you'll have to peek out of the door on that side with your flashlight to keep him away. Do this until the power is depleted, and congrats, you've beaten Biddy. You're given a book with his face on it, and the game seemingly comes to a close. But, judging by the word seemingly, I'm sure you know we're not done yet. Going to the prize corner, you can actually look inside the book and see every character you've gone up against in classic mode, with the exception of one grayed out silhouette we haven't seen before. Clicking on that page throws you into one final boss fight with Mr. Afton. Oh shit, I guess he does always come back. This fight, while unique, also isn't hard like the rest of the game. In this fight, you'll be back in the office again. This time, you'll have your doors and your cameras, which are actually useful this time around. If you ever see Afton in one of your hallways, you'll have to quickly, and I do mean quickly, close the doors until he leaves. This is the only difficult part of this boss fight. The speed you have to have isn't anything crazy like some other FNAF games, but in this game, it's incredibly noticeable. The only other place Afton can be seen is in your bed. If you see him there, you'll just have to stare at him on the camera until he leaves. That can get scary in a situation, but I've got a small theory about that. I don't think your power can run out. I honestly believe that your power decreases at a constant rate like it does in Night 1. I never lost due to running out of power, so that's something I can't confirm. But let me know your guys' experience with it in the comments. After beating Mr. Afton, the game pretty much is over. We have 3 more prizes to collect though, and these can be collected in 2 hidden minigames. The final prize you get from unlocking all the prizes. The first minigame can be found on night 2. Instead of moving forward in the event, you can hold F to move backwards. Once you move your character off screen, you'll be thrown into a minigame where all you have to do is walk forward and collect a plushie. That plushie being the prize that gets added to the prize corner. But before collecting it, you'll notice a shelf that looks oddly familiar. It's the same shelf that's on night 3. You'll need to take note of the order that the objects are placed on this shelf. On night 3, while defending yourself from the Biddy Babs, you'll have to arrange the different items on the shelf in the same order you saw them in the minigame. I recommend just taking a picture of it like I did. After doing so, you'll be thrown into another minigame where you also just walk around and grab a plushie. After doing so, you'll unlock the final prize, which is just a picture of multiple locations you've seen throughout the game. And with that, you've officially 100%ed Baby's Nightmare Circus, and that's all the game has to offer. And with that, that's all I have to offer about the game as well. I loved playing this game. Yes, it's not hard or particularly interesting, but I think of it as a casual FNAF experience and a fandom full of some of the most challenging experiences you'll ever take part in, and I can appreciate that. If you have the thought in your head that the creator of this game isn't very good at making FNAF games, I want you to get that thought out of your head right now. This guy knows what he's doing. In case you were interested, the guy that made Baby's Nightmare Circus also created one of the best Five Nights at Freddy's games of all time, Tyke & Sons Lumber Co. That game is literally some of the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life. And if you want to see me cover it, let me know in the comments. Mixer is a very talented creator and is capable of creating challenging gameplay. Hell, the hardest challenge in Tyke & Sons Lumber Co. is number 48 on the FNAF Max mode list, which is nothing to scoff at. Well, let me know what you think. Do you like the overall simplicity of Baby's Nightmare Circus? Let me know in the comments. The question for my Garden of Banban 0 video was, are you excited for Garden of Banban 8 and why? My favorite answer was none of them because nobody answered the fucking question. Thanks guys, maybe you'll answer this one. The question of this video is, who is your favorite FNAF game developer and why? With the question of the video being asked, I've been Dexter, and I'll see you all in the next video. See ya!
My husband and I can never agree on what we want. That's where wonder comes in. One is the food we laugh, we can order from all different restaurants all in one app. So if I'm in the mood for a healthy salad, but my husband wants wings, we can both be happy.
What makes a game difficult? Is it puzzles, bosses, nerve control, or a mixture of all of those things? I think almost any answer to that question is a valid one. However, I think there's something all players, especially Five Nights at Freddy's players, can agree does not make a game difficult. RNG. Standing for random number generation, RNG is basically just when the game decides to go, and make something happen in the game at complete random with no thoughts of balancing or user experience whatsoever. In a lot of games, RNG can be a good thing and add to the overall experience, whether that be contributing to grinding for really good gear in a dungeon of an MMO, or contributing to a loot box if you're a degenerate in Playboy-o-verse games. But something I think FNAF players can agree on is that RNG is almost never a good thing, and the game we'll be diving into today implements it in some of the worst ways of all time. Join me as we dive into the world of the Tubbyland Archives. But hold up, guys. I signed a contract, which means I'm legally obligated to give you an ad read. Today's video is sponsored by Temu, baby! Let's be real here. We all know what Temu is. Temu is a great online store to get anything you can think of for a price that you can afford. I personally use Temu all the time. In fact, all of the sound panels I have put up around my office, I bought off Temu for an outrageously low price, and I'm gonna be real with you, I couldn't be happier with them. Temu offers guaranteed delivery with every purchase you make. Temu also guarantees price protection. The price of the item you purchase goes down, you request a partial refund from Temu, and they charge you the difference. And if you aren't happy with the purchase, they offer guaranteed returns for any eligible item for a full refund. Right now, if you're a new Temu user, use my link in the description. If you're on mobile, simply go to the app and search my code DYQ9455 in the search bar to get a $100 coupon bundle for free. And my Temu picks 90% off its original price. And if you're not a new user, that's fine too. All users get a $20 off coupon by clicking the link in my description or scanning the QR code you see on your screen. I personally recommend this air duster. It's super high quality and way more affordable than the unreusable air dusters you can get at the store. This mid-tower PC case is pretty good too, since I think mid-tower is probably the best all-round size for PC cases. And of course, these super high-quality trading card deck boxes. I'm a nerd, I like card games, and I know a lot of you are nerds too. Go to the link in my description and enter my code and claim your discount today before it's gone. And thank you to Temu for sponsoring today's video and allowing me to play Archives begins with a cutscene. The camera pans around the building, showing the various rooms, and we listen to a quick phone call from the CEO of the company we will soon be working for. He tells us that we've gotten the job, and that we'll meet with a guy named Joey, and he'll be teaching us what we need to do. The camera pans past two of the antagonists we will soon be introduced to, and oh my lord, do I need to talk about how awesome this game looks. These characters look terrifying. I love them. And I honestly feel like this game's menu screen is one of the best FNAF menu screens I've ever seen. The way the characters shake as they reach out for you, mixed with the unsettling background music, provides a very uncomfortable feel, which I think fits great into a FNAF game. Anyways, moving on to night 1, we're introduced to who I can only assume to be Joey. However, through in-game subtitles, we can see the game refers to him as O3. Not really sure why. The night 1 phone call is just about as uneventful as I'm sure you could have guessed. O3 explains the basics, and not much lore is mentioned at all. O3 tells us that the guy that worked before us was named Evan, but other than that, not much else is revealed. And while yes,
Automate dev maintenance with Azure. Free yourself to focus on innovative new projects and spend less time on routine tasks.
I could describe to you how we describe what our job is, but it's kind of my job to tell you what our job is, so let's do that. There is only one threat that is activated on night 1, that threat being Poe. For those of you who are grown adults and don't know anything about the Teletubbies, Poe is the red one. However, before we can actually talk about Poe, we should talk about the general tools we have at our disposal. Obviously, we have cameras, but the cameras in this game have 3 unique functions. Okay, 1 unique function. I've seen the other 2. I'm just trying to be nice because apparently I'm way too negative in these reviews. Let's go over the 2 non-unique functions first. To start, we have our camera flashlight, just like FNAF 2. It lights the camera up. Who would have imagined? Wow. However, the flashlight battery in this game that's displayed in the top corner of the camera actually goes down pretty fast. So that's why in my playthrough, which you can see on my second channel, Dexter Black, it's very common for you to see me flash the light on a camera for a fraction of a second. Since as you play this game, you'll learn where to look for each of the animatronics, a super brief flash should really be all you need. The next familiar mechanic is an audio lure, except unlike most audio lures, it won't make you want to kill yourself by only working a handful of times before forcing you to stare at a reboot monitor for 300 years. I'll explain how the audio lure mechanic works when it becomes relevant. Before that, let's talk about the last mechanic in the cameras. The reboot? The shock. I don't really know what to call it. There's a button on the cameras that allows you to remotely turn off and on said camera. There's almost never a reason to turn a camera off, so I'm just gonna pretend like that doesn't make sense. But turning a camera on is very important because of one main mechanic this game has that just makes me smile from ear to ear. You see, that joke was funny because I lied. In the top corner of the screen, you'll also see a camera stability percentage. Throughout the night, this number will decrease, and each camera has its own dedicated percentage. When the percentage reaches 0, that camera will automatically shut off, and you'll have to go to said camera and turn it back on. This mechanic is in no way annoying by itself, but when mixed with a certain dickhead we'll talk about later, this will quickly become one of the main things in this game that makes you want to detonate a flash grenade next to an infant. You can also hide behind the mirrors in your office, but that won't become necessary until a later night. Now, pivoting to talking about Poe, something I'll hand to this game is that it does a really good job at making every character be a constant force at your side. No character can be forgotten about. No character can you just let your brain go on autopilot to deal with. You constantly have to be aware of each character, which is something I think is a very good thing in a FNAF game. Poe will do what most robots in FNAF games tend to do, wander around the building and make their way to your office. Something you'll notice about a lot of characters in this game is their ease of ability to juke you. Unlike most FNAF games, where each character usually only has one main form of attack, most of the characters in the Tubbyland Archives can attack both of the doors in your office, and Because of the way the building is set up, there are multiple opportunities for the characters to swap which side they're going to attack on, making it even more important for you to constantly be monitoring all of them. Poe is the only character in this game that is affected by the audio lure, thankfully. However, there is a very big problem with Poe that I will bring up towards the end of this video, but for now, Poe pretty much is just Springtrap. Don't let her get to your doors or she'll insert herself inside of you, and you can only lure her into rooms she's adjacent to. Ooh, I don't like that. Call it back this way, bro. Come here, please! Poe by herself is not a formidable foe, but will likely become the character you forget about the most later down the line. Of course, it wouldn't be a FNAF game without post-night minigames where all you do is walk around, now would it? Rest assured, Tubbyland Archives has those as well. However, there is something I want to mention about these minigames. The way they control is honestly really satisfying. The camera moves with the player, but it doesn't lock to them. It glides around their movements, which leads to a super satisfying feel. Not only that, but the art doesn't have that typical purposeful dog shit look to it. It looks like this could actually be a game inside of an arcade machine, and I think that's great. But what happens in the first minigame? Well, to start, we play as the green Teletubby, Dipsy. We're told to find Nunu, and once again, for those of you that know nothing about the Teletubbies, Nunu is this fucking vacuum that's alive, or something. After wandering around the building, we find Nunu in a closet and his eyes glow red, which means he's evil because, duh, that's what red means. And we're told that Nunu was sleeping. Duh, that's why his eyes were closed, you moron. I can't believe the game is having to explain this to you. On night 2, we get another call from O3. He explains not a whole lot, basically just goes over the 2 new animatronics. But I feel like I can do a hell of a lot better than he can. He does bring up Nunu, the vacuum cleaner, and explains that the CEO worked on building him himself. He always told the workers to stay away from it because it was too dangerous. I find that a bit odd, and so does O3. But we're gonna not question it. It's just FNAF things, I suppose, right? Anyways, on to the 2 threats this night introduces. The previously mentioned Nunu and the yellow Teletubby, Lala. Lala is the real main antagonist of this game. At least, she feels like it. As she is the character that without a doubt will require the majority of your attention throughout this game, and is the first major occurrence of painfully AIDS RNG throughout this experience. Lala is one of the few characters that can be seen on the cameras without the use of the flashlight sensor either.
Send professional invoices and get paid faster with QuickBooks. Even viewed and know when you're paid. Anytime, anywhere.
Glow. She does the same thing that Poe does. She can attack both doors and has multiple points throughout the cameras where she can swap sides and fuck your day up. Generally, her mechanic is easy. Lala will never move backwards, so once she's at the entrance of one of your doors on the cameras, if you later check and she is no longer there, then you know she's about to attack you. And when she is, all you have to do is hide behind the curtains and she'll jump into the office to look for you. Yes. Yo, I would not want those things to grip my hips. I ain't not gonna lie. That'd be fucking up in mid-hands, bro. But she does have the mind of a toddler and will quickly forget why she wandered into the office in the first place and promptly leave. Where Lala becomes incredibly, ass-clenchingly AIDS is when we start to talk about what I'm going to call her final bait and switch. The 2 final cameras she will appear on before attacking are camera 1A and camera 1B. However, there is a camera in between that can serve as one final point for Lala to switch sides. That being camera 2A, the worst fucking camera in the whole game. When Lala is on either of her 2 kill cameras, when she has a successful movement opportunity, she will do one of 2 things. Another character this night adds is the previously mentioned Nunu. Nunu, thankfully, isn't a normal attacking character. Nunu is actually in the office with you, and you can see him behind the curtains you go to hide in. He's just a preventative measure to stop you from hiding in the curtains all night. If you stay there for too long, he'll kill you. Pretty simple sugar. After beating night 2, we're tossed into another mini-game segment, this time playing as Poe. Once again, we have to go find Nunu. After a bit of exploring, we find him getting his clanker ass to work, filling up the custard machine to make some bomb-ass desserts that I personally will never eat because I'm not really a sugar type of guy. Moving on to night 3, we get yet another phone call from O3. He tells us that everyone who works in this building never feels like they're alone when they enter the building. And no shit, there are a bunch of murder robots always trying to fornicate with them, so that checks out. O3 expresses that he will be trying to look through some of the files later on to figure out what's going on. And if I were to guess, that's not gonna bode well for him. O3 also mentions another Teletubby, and of course, that character is the new threat on this night. That being the purple Teletubby, Tinky Winky. Tinky Winky is probably the least frustrating character throughout this whole game. Same shit as every other character. Go to your office, juke you along the way. Except the way to deal with Tinky Winky is different. We're told that he doesn't like high-frequency noises. Well, luckily for us, the flashlight on our cameras just so happens to make the correct frequency of noise to piss him off. He also makes a very noticeable sound cue on whichever camera he's on. So if he's ever in the wrong place, just hold the light on him and he'll move backwards. No problem whatsoever. The post-night 3 minigame has us play as Lala. Once more, we're tasked with finding Nunu. Spoiler alert, this is what we're gonna have to do in each of the minigame segments. After some searching, we find him taking out the trash. However, as I'm sure you could already see because you have eyes, the trash he's taking out definitely looks like flesh and blood, so that's just awesome now, isn't it? Night 4 gives us my favorite phone call in this entire game. Something I really need to point out is how amazing the voice actors in this game really did. The acting is nothing short of amazing. It never sounds like the characters are acting, it always just sounds so real.
Turns out I'm not crazy. There's something going on around here. It's not good. I don't really know how much I can say over the phone. I mean, who knows who's listening. But I think I might be onto something. This whole company goes way deeper than I ever thought.
And that's what I think all good acting should be. You shouldn't even think that the characters are actors, just that they're characters. And I think this game does an almost perfect job at that. Moving on to what's actually said, O3 did some digging and explained that the entire company goes way deeper than he expected. He found some things that he probably wasn't supposed to see, but he never gets into explaining what. Before he does, the CEO comes to his office. They have a brief yet uncanny conversation. The CEO knows that someone had been looking at the company documents, and it's clear that he thinks O3 did it, which, fair, he did. O3 denies ever doing so because, of course, why would he admit that? And the CEO says that he's got his eyes on him. He asks O3 to come in the next night to help look for some of the documents, and O3, while confused as to why, agrees anyways. The CEO leaves the office, and O3 quickly hangs up the phone. This night also introduces the final threat in this game, Dipsy. Dipsy is another character that you won't really have to focus on all too much. Dipsy will appear in your front office door. He has a few phases he can move through before you see him in his main attack phase, where he's fully leaned into your office. When you see him like this, all you have to do is hide. A very faint sound cue will play when he leaves, and you'll be able to come back out and continue. Not a very difficult character to deal with, but a character that does force you to move against him. This is a game where you can't move easily. This isn't something you're going to want to be doing very often. This is also the night where you'll really start to notice how difficult this game really is. The characters really start to move quickly on night 4, and the pressure present and nerve control required really starts to stand out. In the comments on my first episode of this game, which you can watch over on my second channel, Dexter Black, I got several comments warning me about how hard this game really is, and upon reaching night 4, I finally really started to feel it. But nothing could prepare me for the complete bullshit I was about to go through. 5's phone call is a doozy, to say the least. O3 explains that the CEO set him up. He came in the night the CEO asked and walked into a death trap. He mentioned he found a box in a party room that smelled terrible. He found several documents. Reading them revealed everything. He explains that the entire building and business we're in now is a cover-up. But before he can tell us more, Nunu finds him and kills him in what I can only describe as one of the most uncomfortable phone calls I've ever heard. Okay, that was a pretty cool fucking phone call, dude. I can't even lie. That was actually badass. And I can only assume he's the owner of the blood that Nunu was cleaning up in the post-Night 4 minigame. But now we get the displeasure of talking about Night 5. Single-handedly, one of the most infuriating gameplay experiences I've ever had in my entire life. This is where the RNG gets atrocious, and where I find this game's biggest asshole, Poe. As I've already mentioned, Poe acts very similarly to Springtrap in FNAF 3, and if you know anything about FNAF 3, then you know the worst thing about it is the dreaded 1 in 7. For those of you who have played FNAF 3, that phrase probably just sent chills down the back of your spines. 1 in 7 refers to the 1 in 7 chance Springtrap has to completely fucking ignore your audio lure, and is single-handedly the reason why FNAF 3 is even as hard as it is. As it takes a system that would be built around skill and turns it into a game of, is Springtrap gonna fuck you or not? This is exactly what Poe does. At least, I'm pretty sure that's what she does. There's no official documentation about her AI, and as far as I'm aware, there's no decompiling of this game to double check. But I'm almost positive she has the same mechanic. Maybe it isn't 1 in 7, but it's almost then that means that Poe moves around the camera so quickly that your audio lure doesn't even matter. I tried my absolute hardest, but I could not for the life of me beat Night 5. I gave up, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. If my theory of Poe ignoring some of the sound cues is correct, then fuck trying to beat that night and just waiting for it to be on my side. The time you have to wait to use the audio lure after using it is way fucking longer than in FNAF 3. And sure, you never have to reboot it, but that doesn't really matter when Poe moves at the fucking speed of the goddamn Roadrunner. Seriously, go watch my Night 5 playthrough on my second channel, Dexter Black. It's almost laughable how quickly Poe gets to my office despite me using the audio lures at every single opportunity that I could. You could also just watch to see some salt since there's plenty of that, but like, goddamn, this night is hard. This game is fucking hard. I should have listened, but I was thinking, well, how hard could it possibly be? And the answer to that question is, I don't know. It's impossible to tell how hard the game is because the skill ceiling is capped by how lucky you get. So I don't even know how difficulty could be measured. But I need to relax a bit. Sure, I wasn't able to beat this game, but I know there are some people out there who were able to. And because of those people, that I'm able to finish talking about this game. So congratulations to all of you who put yourself through this horseshit torment. I appreciate you. The post-Night 5 minigame actually takes place before the Night 4 minigame. We play as Nick once again and actually get to see who, once again, I can only assume to be O3, dragging himself out of a room before all of the animatronics hold him down as Nunu kills him, and he's left to die on the floor, alone, with no one to ever come and help him. We get our check for the week, but before we decide to piss off forever, our character begins to speak to himself. He wants to go back for one more night, to see if O3 is still alive, and if he isn't, he wants to get the documents that O3 mentioned so that his death wouldn't be in vain. Personally, if it was me, I don't care if O3 was my brother. He's dead as disco, and there would be no way in fuck I'd be going back there in a million years. But Parker, our player's name, decides to.
Black Friday is the best time to upgrade your sleep at Rainforest Flanagan. Think big on cost brands, or explore monthly financing options and find the right plan for you. The Black Friday mattress sale.
And we get to jump into Night 6. an experience I never got to see for myself, and I'm glad I didn't. As far as I'm aware, nothing new was added to Night 6, just being a more difficult, more RNG-based fuckfest of the night, but after completing it, we move on to the post-Night 6 minigame. This minigame is actually a minigame, not just a walk-around simulator. In this minigame, we have to find 10 of the documents in the basement, all while the animatronics patrolling you are trying to find us. If at any point they see you, you're dead because they're much faster than you are. So you have to strategically hide by staring at a fucking wall every once in a while whilst they pass, and eventually escape the building. I obviously never did this because I couldn't even beat Night 5, let alone Night 6, but even just watching somebody else complete this minigame, even this minigame looks really fucking hard. So I'm grateful that I never had to do it. But that's all Tubbyland's Archives Act 1 has to offer. Yes, I did say Act 1, which would imply that there are more on the way. In fact, Act 2 does actually have a Game Jolt page. But with no updates on said page for over 2 years, who's to say if it will ever actually come out or not? I personally really hope it does, because the story of this game actually seems intriguing to me, which is odd for a FNAF game. Overall, the Tubbyland Archives can prove to be an incredibly frustrating, lunch-stricken experience. However, I don't think that can take away from how amazing this game both looks and how it is mechanically if you can put aside the 2 major RNG points that it has. The story is mysterious and is everything I need to want a sequel, and I really hope it does come. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think that the Tubbyland Archives is nothing but reimagined slop of a FNAF fan game that came out years ago? Let me know in the comments below. In my Those Nights at Rachel's video, I asked you guys what your biggest FNAF hot take was, and my favorite answer was this one by an avid panda lover. They said the trope of, quote, employee killed children and that's why the animatronics are hostile, end quote, has been completely overdone by every fan game, and I totally agree. I would love to see a fan game story where child murder isn't the key and major plot point, and honestly, it almost seems like that's the direction the game we covered today is taking. The question of this video is, what is the most frustrating experience you've